Hi guys, welcome to Trail Talk. Thanks for coming back for another episode of our trail and ultra running show. This week we have a really cool interview coming with Kiwi stud Dan Jones after his win at Tarawera. Dan was 5th at last year's Western States 100 and 12th at UTMB Mont Blanc. So serious pedigree on his first year doing these big top level events. Super excited to have Dan join the show. That's coming up in a minute. I need to remind you that the show is on Spotify if you want to subscribe there. But as I've said before, we're happy to have you here on YouTube. Also need to give a shout out to sponsors GOREWEAR and TORQ Nutrition. Use the code IRunOverMountains30 for 30% off at gorewear.com. That is America and Europe. You all get the same love, so go and buy something, get a big discount, and let us know on Instagram what you're picking. In terms of TORQ Nutrition, they are the best tasting gels in the business. Apple crumble, lemon drizzle, cherry bakewell, strawberry yogurt, you name it. They're all my favorites. Use the link in the description below and get 10% off. It's also an affiliate link, so it'll kick a few pennies to the show. We appreciate that. Anyway, guys, let's go and speak to Dan. Dan Jones, two-time Tarawera champion. Welcome to Trail Talk. Where are you and how's the recovery going?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'm actually down in Queenstown, New Zealand at the moment. So we're 2 weeks post Tarawera and down at a race called Motatapu that's on this weekend. Obviously the recovery's gone really well, and I'm taking part in the 15K. This will be the first kind of, I guess, up-tempo session just to see how the legs are actually going to react, and mainly down here to support my partner Michelle, who's in the ultramarathon, the 53-kilometer race here, and so that will be a big day for her. But yeah, we're really excited for the weekend.
So jumping straight into a 15K a few weeks after, legs must be feeling good. Normally it's the high intensity stuff that, you know, takes a little bit longer, I think.
Yeah, well, you're right, and I do a bit of a Substack article, and I've talked all about my fueling throughout Tarawera, and I think this year I really seem to have nailed it. The fueling during the race and post race as well went pretty well, and that may have played some part in my really good recovery. But this weekend's all about just enjoying it and really just having fun on the trails and getting to be part of an awesome local event, or kind of grassroots event here down south in Queenstown. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, Queenstown. I spent some time in New Zealand around my 40th birthday, and Queenstown is class. It really is a cool place. What's the name of that burger spot in the town?
Yeah, Ferg's Burgers. It's definitely a
the
spot
one
we go to every time we come down here, because it is. You're right. It's like for us coming down here, it feels like you're always on holiday. Like it's a holiday destination. It is. It's a touristy place, but it is amazing. The views, the trails. It's just a pretty cool low-key town where you just can walk around, and it's great. Really compact. It's nice.
I think it was around this time of year as well, because my birthday is quite soon on its birthday trip, and we spent a couple of days in Queenstown and then went further south and then come back to Queenstown and spent a little bit more time. So yeah, it's a cool spot, and at this time of year the weather's amazing, and not like us over in the Northern Hemisphere. It's Baltic over here, you know. Good luck for that race.
Yeah, thanks. So I was just saying, like, if anyone is coming around to this area, there's just so many different places to explore. You might have went down to Milford Sound, Tiano. It's just so beautiful. Then Wanaka's just across the way as well. That's actually where the race starts. So it's like a point-to-point race for the ultramarathon, and they're racing right through from Wanaka to Queenstown and explore some beautiful scenery, some good vert in that race as well.
Yeah, some nice peaks around Wanaka. Is it a mountain race? I mean, does it go over the tops?
Yeah, it does for the ultra. They've got like 2,000, I should know this off by heart, about 2,500 meters of vert in the race.
Yeah, is it Roy's Peak in Wanaka? That's
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good spot. They've got some epic drone shots from that day on Roy's Peak. When I was coming off that run, I met Lucy Bartholomew coming up. I was like, what are the chances of this happening?
Yeah, that's nuts. If it was around this time, yeah, I think she did come over for this race one year, so it could well have been around that same time that this race was, potentially on.
Yeah, I'm not sure why she was there. I was kind of dumbstruck when I saw her. I was like, no more than how's it going? You right? Weird seeing you here. And then I was coming running down past, and she was climbing up with another girl. But anyway, we digress. I wanted to kick things off and just touch on Kiwi mountain runners. There's just been so many great runners, going back to like Jonathan Wyatt and multiple time sort of world champion Ruth Croft and Scotty Hawker are two of the more prominent names of recent years. I'm Irish, so I sort of think about, and even in my time in New Zealand, I thought this place, it seems like Ireland, like Scotland. There's similarities, and the population of both countries is around 5 million as well. We're both known for sort of punching above our weight, sort of sport wise. Why do you think that is the case with sort of Kiwi mountain runners? Why is this small place creating some great talent?
It's a good question, and as you say, it is like that for sports in general. I feel for New Zealand, we do put a lot of weight on, the Olympics, where those minority sports that don't get much limelight for 3 and 3/4 of a year are just not really seen or not really shown on the media. But then come that Olympic time, everyone puts forth their best before. Well, you've been working so hard throughout that gap, and then you come forward and put forth your best performance. And we've had some really amazing results: golds, silvers, whatever, bronze, or just great performances in general. When we are, as you say, small island nations punching above our weight. And here in New Zealand, much like Ireland would be, is I just feel like the trail, like we've got the trails, so we've got the environment to get out there and have fun, explore just so many different options, and that's very cool to see. Like most small towns you come through in New Zealand will have some kind of trail going on, and the upkeep of the trails is actually surprisingly good for a country that's actually quite big in terms of size and a low population. So you're not really getting same kind of funding that you could have if it was a little bit more compact and obviously a higher population base. So having that and just an awesome trail community. So we still have some of our better trail runners going around to all the local events, which I just think helps drive that kind of, well, fosters that environment for trail growth. And yeah, it's really cool to have that atmosphere at the events, and just to be lining up with people that seem to be inspired by trail runners that are punching above their weight across the world.
Historically, a lot of the best fell runners and mountain runners have come from a farming background. They've been outdoorsy families. Fell running originates from shepherds out in the mountains. Do you think that's a factor? Like, there's a lot of farming. There's a lot of Irish people go to work in the farms and the farm industry in New Zealand, or trying to on apprenticeships, or go over there for a few years because the farming's so big, and then they come back to Ireland. Do you think there's any connection with sort of like just the hard work mentality and doing well in running?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point as well. Farmers are bloody hard workers, aren't they? They're, getting up super early, and then when they want to, or if they have to train, or if they're passionate about running or training in general, then they're getting out during the day on their breaks, and then, going back on the farm and say in the afternoons, and it's just a long day for them, and time on the feet, right? It's time on the feet, plus it's getting out and doing a mix of other training, and that's what can really adapt you into a super strong athlete. So we got farmers, we got hunter gatherers. So I know a lot of pig hunters and
Right.
or deer hunters that are, you're walking around the hills. That might be your job, or it might be a bit of a passion or a way to gather food for your family. And you're walking around the hills all day, and you come back, maybe you do speed work the next day, and hey, all that kind of fosters like a pretty good stimulus for improving as a trail runner and an ultra runner. Like those guys chasing their dogs around to, you got to your dogs are on a pig, you got to get to that pig as quickly as possible so your dogs don't get hurt. And I mean, they're running through the bush, running through the undergrowth. They get some pretty good technical skills in that way. And then, yeah, it's all about building a pretty solid endurance base while you're doing it.
You do a bit of hunter gathering yourself. I see you spearfishing and catching your dinner. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I've gotten into spearfishing over like the last 5 years or so. And yeah, it's a big passion of mine of being able to go out and make use of the resources that are like available to us, because Michelle and I, we live in Wellington, but it's only about 45-minute drive to the spearfishing spot. And what we do is just I load up my pack with all my gear and walk around with massive pack on, 40 minutes around the shoreline to get to a good spot, and then you go diving and you're holding your breath, like diving down, and it's actually pretty, and it's relaxing for me. It's like a good way to escape the stresses of life, but it's also a really good exercise, because you're getting the good lung capacity going, and then diving down, and you're kind of bent in all kinds of positions as you're trying to make your way into rocks and cracks. And yeah, so for me, there's diving, there's the hunting side of things, and it's a great way, as I said, to put food on the table, but it's also a good way to just get out, escape, and then get some time into a bit of cross training that you wouldn't expect cross training to be.
Yeah, I think that's spearfishing stuff looks super cool. I don't know if it'd be any good at it, but it looks good. Moving on to running, you've won whatever there is to win in New Zealand. 6 wins at the 60k Kepler Challenge, and I actually ran that
Oh, cool.
route on my 40th birthday. That was what I wanted to do. So we got to the bottom of the South Island for my birthday, and then I ran that just as a solo. I was basically ticking off the tramps as we went through as we traveled south. So it's like an epic route. But what was your catalyst for moving up to the ultra distances from the marathon? Because you've got legs there.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed Kepler, right? You did it one day?
Yeah, one day. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Just ran it. That's solid. Beautiful course. Yeah, highly recommend that course. But yeah, so I guess I had a bit of a dream, a bit of a goal to try and represent New Zealand in the marathon, and I was going pretty hard at it. My first marathon debut, I did 2 hours 20 minutes and 5 seconds, and then with a few marathons in between, the next year at that same race, I did 2 hours 16 and 15 seconds. So I missed out on the world champ qualifier by 15 seconds, and so I had a goal of trying to represent New Zealand in the marathon. COVID happened, and it kind of just put a bit of a hold on me getting the international races, whether it be a fast course overseas in Europe or the fast competition of jumping into a bunch and just getting towed along to a quick time. A couple of times during those times where I just about was able to get out of the country, but then another lockdown happened, and it was just one of those things. So then I had the seed planted in my mind of Western states. I'd seen these videos on YouTube. I'm like, this was probably a couple years prior, and I was like, dang, I'd love to do that one day. So then pretty much after a few failed attempts at getting out to do a fast marathon where I never really got to use my fitness, I was like, okay, the qualification time is never like something stupid, like 2 hours 11 minutes to try and go to the Olympics or even world champs. And so I thought, well, it makes sense. I was now like 31, 32, and I've got a pretty decent speed endurance. I can probably utilize that in an ultra marathon and just jump across. I've done trail before. I can run hills, although I can still use the speed over courses that suit me. So yeah, that's probably that first step that I took in stepping over to the ultra distance.
I've heard you liken yourself more to a diesel engine. Maybe a diesel engine with a couple of turbos on there, but talk about where you see your sort of strength as a trail and ultra runner.
Yeah, it would be now, because if I look at my 5K time, it's not like it's nothing that flash. Like I feel like I get better as the distance increases. So yeah, anything that is quite a fast runnable course and is long, that's what I feel like I'm geared to. So just running Tarawera, the 100, it was like 104 kilometers a couple of weeks ago. That kind of course, it suits me, and I wanted to make the most of that course and just give it another good nudge. So I still think 2023 Tarawera, 2024 Tarawera are a couple of my best performances in the ultra space, and I want to convert that over to Western States now, and going forward, like more hilly terrain as well, UTMB, the like.
Yeah, like in the last couple of years, you have been dipping your toe into the US and European scene, and I'd say maybe last year after Tarawera, people that didn't know you then were like, "Oh, who's Dan Jones?" You know, there's a new guy here who's quick. What was your inspiration for States and UTMB? Did it purely come down to YouTube, or was there something else?
Initially for Western States, certainly, and then UTMB, even though it is, probably bigger and on a global level, especially, that one more so through the hype and the chat of the top trail runners, because I'm definitely not even probably still that well known, but coming off Tarawera, I thought that might elevate me to a level where you're getting different offers and things like that. But no, I still felt like I had to put myself out there, and that's why I wanted to race Western States anyway. That was a big goal. That was the one that I was aiming for the last 2 years, and to get over there was a massive accomplishment. And almost by getting that golden ticket at Tarawera last year, it was like, oh, I'm so stoked. This has really just made my year now. I'm happy. I'm content. But then, of course, the next couple of weeks pass by, and you're like, okay, let's go. Western States, here we go. And yeah, you just want to succeed there as well. And so even coming off Western States, like didn't really get that much attention beforehand, and then they're like, oh, you got fifth, that's not bad, for a guy that we hadn't even really heard of. And then so I was like, oh well, what have I got to lose now? I'm going to UTMB. I can choose the 50k, the 100k, or the 160k. Either way, I really just want to use this as an experience now and get experience from this race. So why not just go whole hog and do the double 100-miler?
Both feet, as they say. Just with the trajectory you've been on, with the Kiwi races and now on the global sort of scene, you must be inspiring some younger Kiwi trail runners. Is there anyone that we should be keeping our ears out for, that could have a breakout in the next couple of years?
Certainly, and I wouldn't even just say the younger trail runners. So I coach as well, and it's amazing to see my athletes that I'm coaching just going ahead, achieving their goals or striving for their goals, but also just the massive outreach that I've got from Kiwis and people all over after some of these like Tarawera results. It's just like overwhelming. You're just like getting messages, and it's super nice, like getting messages where people say, oh, I'm just so inspired by that performance, and like it's helped me to get out. And those are kind of the messages. It's like, whoa, it's what you're doing is actually making an impact. Because sometimes you think, oh, what am I actually doing in the sport that is making an impact? But it is. It's like, people are getting out, making the most of what we have here and over abroad. So it's really cool. But yeah, I would say like I'm coaching a young fella, Liam Dooley, and he just got second at the 21k at Tarawera. So he's concentrating on the shorter distances like really well right now, and going super strong. So like just making big leaps and bounds. So it's exciting seeing him coming through.
Tarawera is sort of the premier race now in New Zealand. It's sort of the top of the food chain in terms of ultras. Is that right? Is that how you guys would see it over there?
Yeah, certainly is like a global event because it is a UTMB series event. And then Kepler Challenge, I think it's been going the longest. the one you mentioned at the 60k, and that's just like a amazing, more grassroots, like local community event, which is it's so fun to be a part of.
I think going back a few years, the international runners used to see Tarawera and some of the races in Asia and that whole region, Ultra Trail Australia. They used to be races, I think, that people thought of as easy ways in or easy good results, and that's just not the case anymore. You know, you beat Hayden Hawks last year in what he said was a good day for him, and you still nailed it. Sage Canada was there this year, Justin Grindwald as well at Tarawera. So it seems to be there's no easy in at UTMB anymore. Tarawera is being won by the best in the region, and that's sort of you at the minute. You're the guy with the momentum. Moving on to Coach Robbie Britton. Transparency for the audience. He's my coach as well. I've known Robbie for maybe about 10 or so years, but only been my coach for about a year. What was your first race coached by Robbie? I think you started with him about a year ago, or am I right?
Yeah, we must have started at fairly similar times, but that was my build into UTMB is where I first started getting coached by Robbie.
Just speak of that relationship and how your training has changed. I know Robbie puts a big emphasis on nutrition and things like that. So just speak on how your training and nutrition has changed under sort of Robbie's guidance.
Yeah, so before that, I was like self-coached, and I was doing a lot of training with Hayden Hawks, and we may go into that a little bit as well. But when I was training with Hayden, like being self-coached, I was very flexible, so I was just basically going, bro, what are we doing today? Let's go out for a run, and just kind of copying off his plan a little bit. We both have a fairly similar mindset in training, as we like big mileage and we like doing workouts, so that's that worked really well. So for the onset, knowing that it would be a good fit, or thinking it would be a good fit, was really like step one. So coming off Western States, where I thought, oh yeah, that was a good race, but I know I've got more to achieve in that race. I was like, oh, well, I'd met Robbie. He'd come over for Western States, and definitely we got on well, and I could kind of see that I thought I would be a good fit being coached by Robbie, just through the interactions that I've had with him, and also knowing how Hayden trains as well. So yeah, I kind of put a little hint out there, like, bro, I know you're pretty busy at the moment, but if it suited, do you reckon we could give this a go? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, bro, I don't want to put you out. I know you got a big book of athletes probably going on. And yeah, but he was just real understanding. He said, mate, just take a bit of time after Western States. And then, if you still feel keen to do it, then we'll get on with it, and we'll make this thing happen. And so, yeah, I took a couple of weeks after Western States, and then that was pretty exciting, stepping into my first real, like, properly coached, being a coached athlete for good amount of time, since the last time.
What do you think the benefits of that sort of coach athlete relationship are, in terms of, I personally find, like, if I was prescribing myself 3x15 uphill, sometimes you have the ability, if you've made it up yourself, to adjust it on the fly. And maybe you've made up something in your foot and you're like, oh, we'll do 3x8. So how does that work for you?
Yeah, there's a certain amount of that, isn't there? It's like when you're on that last rip and you're like, oh, I could just cruise this one in. You don't, because it's on the watch. It's going through the final surge or training peaks or whatever you're using as an athlete, and it's just one of those things. I've just found it really good to gain that confidence that what I'm doing is going to work. When you're doing it yourself and you're only bouncing off your ideas in your own head, then there's just that little bit of maybe doubt that creeps in, like, oh, am I doing the right thing, or am I actually pushing too hard? Which a lot of the time I probably was, especially when I first stepped into ultra training, just doing some stupid weeks. Definitely got burnt in my first year of going over to the canyons, and that's where I finished 10th, and I was real disappointed with that performance. But I think I just burnt myself in that lead up. I did like a massive lead up because of some COVID interruptions, and yeah, it's just one of those things. Having Robbie there, who's just like so knowledgeable, as you say, getting the nutrition dialed in. He put me in touch with Precision Fuel and Hydration, and like that's been working super well for me. It's like being well fueled in workouts and long runs is like game changer, right? And I think having that emphasis there, having a coach that completely believes in that is just, yeah. I mean, you have to have someone that believes in that, otherwise you're not going to believe in that.
Yeah, he believes in it because he has he's gone to school. He's learned about it, and
Yeah,
that's what you need, somebody that knows more than you, and you
yeah.
can learn from them and build upon that. Thinking back to Tarawera last year when you were self-coached, and
Hmm.
then Tarawera this year, and I think PF put out or Performance Hydration put out a thing. Were you 90 something grams per carb per hour?
Yeah, I managed about 99 this year, give or take. It's very hard to say, oh, I squeezed that last bit of gel out of that
Ish.
packet, but yeah.
Yeah. So what about last year? Any idea? Any guesstimates where what your average was per hour then?
I think I was pretty high because I worked with an amazing, I still do, I still coach her, Kushla Holdway dietitian. She's on Instagram as well, and she's awesome. It's I've just simplified things, so I've just brought it back to just taking on the carbohydrate electrolyte drink, gels, and a couple chews just to mix it up. And so I had no GI issues, whereas the year previously I had to stop a couple of times. And I felt well energized the whole way through. So I think I can't actually remember what I achieved in 2023, but I was probably pretty good. It just meant like um, I think I probably wasn't practicing as well the previous year, just getting the gut adapted and used to taking on such high carbs. So that could have been an issue, or just simplifying things has certainly helped me as well. Actually knowing between aid stations what I've got to take on, make sure I finish my nutrition that I've got on me, and then that's the way that I kind of measure it as I'm going along, making sure that I am hitting my carb plans and my hydration plans as well.
I saw you were doing the 30-gram gels. Why are you not going for the big baby pouch, 90 Gs?
Oh, I think that's just how it got written up in the article. Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did 2 of those over the course of Tarawera, so that counted for 6.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're really handy to use. I've been
Oh, yeah.
using the 90s. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I've heard that you might be running Canyons 50K in the build up to States this year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's still the plan. So I've still got to book flights and all that kind of carry on, but I'm entered. I'm excited for it because now it's like now will be the time to start that build into canyons, and then we'll be staying on over there after that race and training with Hayden up until Western States.
And how do you think your training for States is going to change this year now that now that you're not just winging it with Hayden?
I mean, I think our training plans may be very aligned, to be honest, since we'll be doing a lot of our training together, and it's perfect that we're both coached under Robbie. And yeah, we're going to make a few more small changes, I think, to what we did last year, or to what Hayden did last year. And yeah, fingers crossed it works for us.
Cool. And then let's just move on to Tarawera and have a chat about that. It was your second time running, going in as a defending champ. International runners coming across and racing against you as well. Was your motivation to run Tarawera to gain entry to the UTMB Mont Blanc finale, or was there other things there?
No, I already actually have an entry to Mont Blanc finale, to be honest. So no, the motivation is I think it's a great race to start the season off with, and it's a race that doesn't seem to batter you around too much. You're running solely on trails, so you're not on the pavement, and being 100k, it's not like 100 miles, so I feel 100k is a long way still, I know, but it doesn't seem to take it out of my body too much, and it's still, as you say, it's still a global event. Still get the competition there, and it's a hometown race for me. Well, not a hometown race, but I grew up an hour from there in Whakatane, from Rotorua, and it's really nice to be able to run that race in front of what almost feels like a home crowd. My parents and my whole family came over and supported me, and had friends, and Michelle was there on the support team as well. So yeah, really really cool day out.
Cool. So after States, will you be traveling over to the Alps?
Yeah, so that's the plan for this year, is to cut down on some travel time, is to go directly from Western States to Europe, and hopefully that will help aid in that recovery post Western States. And so going directly there, Michelle's coming over with me for a bit of a holiday there, and we plan to do the TMB, the circuit around Mont Blanc, just as a recovery thing over a good few days. And yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely won't be racing it as I try and come back into fitness, and she gets to explore some of the beautiful trails that I've talked about for the last 6 months.
Cool. So does that mean that the I think I'm going to coin them the teens Cowboys, will they be reunited this summer? Scotty Hawker and Jordy Gamito and I think Christian Mayer and Tom Evans, and who else was there? I think David Hedges was there for a bit as well. So
Yeah,
will
Ronnie Spark, yeah,
will
Ruth.
will, will the band be getting back together?
Likelihood is yes. Yeah, we've already had a few free yarns around that, or who's getting there at what time, and yeah, this is gonna be our year. We're gonna crush it. Don't know exact dates yet. I think my plan will be to go there, get some good altitude training in, build up to UTMB race of some description, and then come down a bit earlier. I just felt like last year I might have pushed too high at too high altitude for too long, and I'd rather get down to more of a, I know it's not sea level, but down into, say, Chamonix, into the valley earlier, so that I can get more pop into my legs, so I can actually run how I like to run and just be fast. I didn't have that last year. It was maybe a combination of Western States and staying too high for too long, but this year I just want to get there as best shape possible, and that means being fresh and just feeling that pop in the legs, allowing me to get the legs ticking over when I can run the runnable sections.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be fun. I think you guys need to get like a social media content manager for that, because there was some good content coming from that group, but you were having to do it yourselves. But
Yeah.
yeah, the the trail and ultra running community just love like a training group to follow or whatever. So that'll be cool that that's happening again. Going into Tarawera again, you won it by, I think, over 30 minutes. Um, did you feel like it was a good day, a great day, or did you just do what you needed to do to win?
No, I went into that race knowing the competition was there, so I had to perform on the day, so really made sure I tapered off and got to that race fresh. And then going up, I had in my mind that last year I was stoked on the performance that I put in. So it was almost like, even when I knew I had a bit of a lead, I was like, okay, let's keep pushing here. We want to see what kind of shape you're in, see what kind of time I can achieve on this course. It was a slightly different course. I thought the course was harder this year. It was definitely harder, but I thought it might be 15 to 20 minutes slower. We did a big out and back to Okataina, which includes a hefty hill at about the 50-kilometer mark. So knew it was going to be slower, but I thought if I could get within Kiwi of the previous year, then I'd be really happy. And so, yeah, finishing how I did, and not really having to blow up and just running off my own like mental kind of determination, like, you get a little bit more out of yourself, obviously, in closer racing. So really happy with how it all ended up.
Give us a bit of a summary of how the race sort of unfolded. Where when did you break away? So how did that pan out?
Yes, I was running with Mikey Giamentes. Hopefully I got his last name right there. But we started off together for, I think it was the first probably 15-ish kilometers, 10 to 15 kilometers, and then there was a bit of a pinch at that point where it's actually quite a steep single track climb, and we're catching up to some 50k runners that had started earlier than us. And yeah, I just managed to pull away on that hill. Didn't look back and really just started running my own race from that point on. Just looking forward to different aid stations, making sure I kept on top of my nutrition and kept on top of what I felt my effort levels were, and didn't really have a blow up. I managed to looking back, my heart rate data was pretty even the whole way. Obviously, there are pinches in there that it got high because some of those hills coming out of Okatana, you're like hands on knees, basically trying to power walk up out of there.
I was chatting to Robbie yesterday. I was saying that I love the feeling of late in the race if you can still push enough to get your heart rate up when you need to. I take it that was the case the whole way through the race. Did you have any need to get up there into the higher zones in the later stages?
I don't think I actually finished quite as fast as the previous year, but that's because also I might have been running a little bit scared the previous year as well. So this year I think I just really maintained. I think I got down to a couple like sub 4 minute Ks in the flat on the way back into Rotorua, but yeah, I don't think I actually got up to like 170 beats per minute. I think I kept it relatively around 155, 160 for the whole time.
Sweet. That is nice running, mate.
Thanks.
So you ran, was it 7:46?
Yeah, it was something like that. So I thought it was 7:45, 7:46.
Okay, and it was 100 I thought it was 102, but you're saying 100, so 104k, and there's 2,300 meters of vert. Hayden ran 7:30 for Black Canyon 100k with just over 1,900 meters of vert. So I guess what I'm trying to get at here is I would love to see you throw down at Black Canyon some year, but there's maybe always going to be this pull to Tarawera. But how would you feel about lining up at Black Canyon some year?
Oh yeah, it was definitely on the list of potentials for this year. We kind of talked about it, Robbie and myself, and it was like, yeah, if you go to that one, then it's another international trip, and it may just take it out of the recovery that you need to go from there back to New Zealand and then start your build again, then go back over for say canyons and then onto Western States. So I'd love to. It just didn't really make sense this year because I had a golden ticket, because I'm already entered into UTMB as well. So don't get me wrong, like I saw that race and I saw the lineup and I was like, oh, imagine being on that start line. And to be fair, those conditions looked pretty gnarly at the start as well until it dried up a bit. But it's one of those things. It's very hard to compare on a trail course, right? So don't know. We're going to be racing at canyons anyway. It sounds like we're both entered for the 50k. There's going to be some other awesome athletes there, so we're going to get some great competition, whatever way we look at it.
It sounds like the 50k might be the live stream to watch. We don't have to sit in all day and watch it. We'll be done in a couple of hours.
Exactly. How good is it watching those live streams? I couldn't stop watching the Black Canyons race when it had a pretty good live stream going, and the live timing, it's like updating the bloody leaderboard every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's fun to follow. I think the only negative thing about it is that you have to write off your day or get a run in at some point when there's maybe bad signal or something, and yeah, that's the only negative. But it's not a bad thing. Moving on to just some lighter touch closing questions before we let you go. So you're running in ASICS shoes. First off, what was your shoe choices for Tarawera, and what's your normal shoe rotation, road, trail, whatever. Take it how you want.
Yeah, so let's start with Tarawera. Um, so let's just go back to 2023, the previous year. I actually started off in Fuji Lights and ran through the more technical trail on Okataina right through to Tikitapu, which is about 35 kilometers of running in Fuji Lights. And I actually swapped into Metaspeed Skies, the road super shoe. Are people still calling them super shoes? They're just road shoes these days, aren't they? Just Metaspeed
Yeah,
Skies. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I swapped into those for a good portion of the race, 65 kilometers or so, just because the trail it's fairly nice. There was a bit of more road running last year, so when we went from the redwoods out to the finish line and back out and around, we actually had about 10, 12, 15k of road running, or let's say 12 kilometers of road running, or at least pavement or some grass. So it made massive sense last year, in my opinion, because it was dry-ish last year, and I thought if you can put your foot in the right place, then you can get away with this. And so I kind of went into this year with the same thought process, and the course was dry, and so I thought I may struggle a little bit over the Okataina, the Western Walkway, and getting over there, but I'll have a pair of Fuji Light 4s sitting there in case I need them for the way back. My feet have felt like they're a bit unstable on the trail, but I got over there and I thought, I'm getting away with this pretty well, and it's going to help on the flatter sections after the trail on my return back to the finish line. So I thought I'll just stick with it. So I just raced in, the Metaspeed Skies the whole way this year. As for my normal rotation, I really like the Nova Blast 4s that have recently come out, the Super Blasts. They're my kind of, that's the one.
Super Blast, Nova Blast.
That's it. So those are my general training shoes. Anything, even if it's like slightly off trail but not too technical, and then the Fuji Lights, my go-to trail shoe, and then of course the Speed Skies for fast workouts or racing.
I'm totally new to Essex. I just bought the Super Blast off recommendation, I think in October, and they're just amazing. They're just such a fun, versatile shoe. I would use them for long runs. I even use them, stick them on for a recovery run because there's a nice bit of bounce out of them. Not so keen on the grip, but that's like canal paths and things in London. But I haven't tried the super shoes, but I see they've just dropped a new shoe, so I'll be checking out some of the reviews on that. Have you picked that? Have you got that new? Is it the Metaspeed Paris or something that they're calling it?
Oh
Have
yeah.
you got that yet?
No, I've just seen the post come out on Instagram. We'll probably get it a couple months after the rest of the world anyway, but being here in New Zealand. But no, I'm saying that Essex New Zealand, I've had an amazing partnership with them over the last 2 or 3 years. So that's the one with Essex New Zealand, and they're legends. Like they put a lot into building up a trail running atmosphere at Tarawera for us. That we had some Essex athletes that came over, and they got the whole team together. We had pizza the day before, and that was just really nice, like a massive change from the previous year. So the team here are really awesome, an awesome group, and really nice to have that content get put out to actually show the rest of New Zealand, like, hey, the sport is growing. It's a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, Essex have been making a bit of a push the last year or so with the athletes and stuff that they signed. So I think big things to come there. And it's good to see for the sport. I wanted to ask you, do you have a take on the new World Trail Majors series? Is it something that you're interested in, or are you firmly targeting the UTMB type events?
I've probably still got to do a bit more research around that. I think one of them is at UTCT, Ultra Cape Town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have had my eyes on that race. Like I watched it last year, and I thought it was awesome the coverage that they provided for that race. And so, whenever you've got some of these big races and they're getting good exposure, they're putting out, some awesome media attention, like getting the whole community involved, and hey, it's something that I want to be a part of. It's just lining up your race calendar to make things suit.
Yeah, the Cape Town event, I think, might have some of the best coverage outside of the UTMB finale. There's a company called I forget what they're called, Pulse TV. They do the live stream, and yeah, they've got a custom app that overlays the GPS data. You can actually watch Trail Cape Town via their app as well as on YouTube. But yeah, what they're doing is super cool. So yeah, that would be a good one. Dan, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. You can go and get your breakfast and get out the door for a run or whatever you're going to do. Thanks so much for your time, and best of luck in the training for States. I hope to catch you in Chamonix for UTMB.
Yeah, cheers, Aaron. Hopefully it wasn't that obvious that I just rolled out of bed, but really enjoyed the chat, mate, and looking forward to catching up over in Europe.
Cool, man. Thanks. See you later.
See you, mate. Bye.
Well, what did you think? Did you enjoy that conversation with Dan? What a guy. Kiwi stud. Looking forward to seeing what he does. Canyons 50k, States, UTMB. The Teens Cowboys are reuniting for a training camp. It's going to be fun to follow. Let us know down in the comments what you think of the interview. Also, give Dan a shout out on Instagram. Here's his handle. Follow him on Strava. Big volume guy, super fast, interesting Strava account to check out. Anyway, guys, you know the deal. Share it with a friend. Hit subscribe. Hit like. Do all of these things. The best comment, I'm going to send you a box of gels because we appreciate you. Anyway, see you next time. Peace.